I have created a model called Sally Jacket Practice, and in the model I have put 3 pieces. They're the original blouse front, back, and sleeve, and I'm going to adjust them into being a jacket. So when I'm looking at them, I want to arrange them with the side seams together. I have my center back and my center front, and I think I'm going to start by changing my annotation. So edit, annotation, choose the one, and instead of blouse I'm going to change it to jacket so that it's already. Okay. And if I edit, copy, then I can have my jacket sleeve too. And you'll probably want to have your name on them if you don't already. You don't have to have Form 13. I'm going to start by widening the shoulder and giving it parallel additional fullness. So that's advanced fullness parallel, create slash line from pivot end to open end, and I'm just going to put it here near the middle of the shoulder. And I want to switch to value and add 0.375. My plan is to increase the whole chest circumference by 3 inches by the time I'm through. You certainly can add more if you wish. And roughly in the same spot. .375. Okay, so you can see with the purple areas we have additional fullness. I need to straighten that line out, but I'm going to address the whole shoulder at the same time when I do that one. But it will be something like, switch back to cursor, like I'm doing here, where I'm just swapping it, and when I swap that line, my original purple addition is going to disappear. Okay, so that looks better. The purple disappeared. I've already added 3/8 of an inch, so you'll want to remember that you did that if you deleted. But that looks a lot nicer. This one I'm going to wait because I'm going to disperse that shoulder dart when I get to it. I also want to change my side seams and increase that by another 3/8, and that will give me my total of 3 inches all the way around. Now I can just change the piece and move the line out directly, but I like you to see what's happening, so I'm going to create a line and then swap it. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and choose both side seams. And switch to value 0.375 again. If you want more ease, you can just use 1/2 of an inch everywhere, and then you'll have 4 inches. And if I swap that, I'll be able to see that I've done it until I delete the line. Modify line swap. Okay, I also want to lower my armhole, but I think I'm going to take care of this shoulder area first. And when we're through with that, we're going to raise the shoulder and add space for a shoulder pad. I think I'm going to go ahead and just straighten this line. If I just create a 2-point line right here, it won't be distorted. And I'm going to change this so that there's ease here anyway. So I'm going to just swap that. And how big is this dart? If I put a line there, and I did that backwards, but I'm not planning to keep it. Bad habit though. Verify line length. That's less than 1/2 of an inch. And my shoulder seam is Can I ease in less than 1/2 of an inch across 5 inches? I think I can. I think I'd like that. But maybe I can take 1/3 of it and put it in the neck and then just move it to my center back, because I'm planning to put a seam there anyway, so I can curve that if I want to. You don't have to do this on your finished jacket. I'm just showing you that you can, and this is how. So if I advanced, I want to distribute rotate, so I'm going to distribute this dart. My rotation point, I'm going to move over a little more toward the middle, and my hold line and my new opening point. And I want 30%. But I have to remember to use the percent key. You probably remember that. And I don't need any internal lines to move, so I'm going to say OK. And my new dart tip, I could have moved that over a little bit further, but it's okay. So now that I've got this space here, I'm going to leave this and I'm going to blend it, and maybe I should have left that little line there. We'll see. but I need to measure this now. So if I have my 2-point curve here, 2-point line, and verify the line length, that is 0.126. So if I come in at about this same level and I create a 2-point line, am I just going to create a 2-point line? Temporarily, yes. I'm going to right click and put in distance from point. This one, I want to go backwards, so a negative number, negative 0.126, and normal. And I want to come down about the same level that that dart originally was ending and just put that there as a temporary marker. So this curve right here has been increased by the dart amount, and because I'm in a line space and I'm not crossing a corner, I can just mentally move this dart over to here. So I've got a line between the two. I think that will be fine. And I can split this line, and I'm going to bump this one up a little bit. So I'm going to start by modify line swap my internal line with my dart line. And now I've got my neck curve, and it's pretty much the same. And if I don't really want to see my dart, I can modify the line length. So I can go in and adjust and choose this end and choose that end. So I still know where my dart is. I can get rid of it later. It's there. And I can combine those and switch this one out. And I'm going to I'm going to change this dart too. That line. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. And I'm going to create perpendicular on line, a line right here. And it's blending back into the curve that I originally had. So this is going to be my center back. I still want my center back mostly straight. I'm curving it right here, but I don't want to lose my right angle when I put that on. So I created a right angle, but I've moved my dart into the back, and it's going to be a curve. And it looks to me like this may not be touching, so I'm going to modify, adjust that too. So I'm going to bump that line again and pull this end out so that I'm sure that it crosses over. And if I need to, I can blend that curve, but right now it doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to clip and split, modify my dotted lines by clipping them. I want to keep this part of the line until it touches this one. I want to keep this part of the line until it touches that one. And I want to keep this part of the line until it touches this one. So I now can split. I want to keep this part until it touches this line. So now I can split my solid line here and swap that, and that will give me a curved center back. If I want that, if I wanted to get rid of part of that dart, and this will still be controlled in the shape, and I'll still have ease here in my shoulder that I'll just ease in instead of sewing in a dart. So modify line split right here and right here, and swap these two. Oh, I forgot to hold down the control key. These two, no. Cancel. Control. dotted line, solid line, solid line. I didn't release, so I just released and now it worked. Except I released wrong and I want this line for this one. Oh, what a mess I have made. So modify line split right here where that matches and right here. And swap, hold down the control key, dotted line, release the control key and press the control key again, solid, solid, release, and there it is. That took some practice. Okay. So I'm going to leave that there as a reference point, but I'm also going to combine my lines. Modify line, combine. Oh, and I didn't hold down the control key. Okay, and these two little points, I don't want grade points there, so I'm going to come up to Edit Point and choose this point. I want to get rid of, I push the delete button and I apply, and now I'm going to choose the other one and highlight and delete button, delete button. I also don't want an endpoint. Apply, so this endpoint, the letter N, dots, nothing. Okay. Alright, so I'm through with that. So now I've got my neck the way I want it. I know it's not a perfect choice. So I'm curious about how these lines come together, and I don't want my measurements on there right now, so I'm going to go to View, no, Verify, Clear. So I'm in Verify, Measurement, Clear, and they're gone. So if I were to close that dart, and I'm going to temporarily put it over here, I'm not going to leave it there, but I want to see the way that comes together. I'm also going to delete this line. If I wanted to make that into a princess line, I could have left the dart there, but we're practicing things and you've played with princesses lines. And I'm just going to move this dart. I'm going to leave it right around the point so that it's easy to put back. And I'm going to use the armhole as the hold line and put the opening point over here. I'm not moving any internal lines right now. And I'm just going to cancel so it's exactly where it used to be. Well, no wonder that looked weird to me. So I'm going to delete these two lines and straighten that back out, and then when I put the dart back it will have a nice curved shoulder. So modify, delete line, both of those, and that one. Okay. And swap those two. And then I'm going to put the dart back. So the dart I'm rotating. And my opening point, I'm going to say midpoint, because I would rather have it there. I'm not moving any internal lines, and I'm just going to say cancel. So now when I create my 2-point curve, just like we did in beginning pattern making, I can bump that up there, and I can swap that for all 3 lines in the dart. But did I miss? I missed, so I have to do that over again. 2-point curve, right on the corner, right on the corner. And I'm giving it a little, not very much extra, but I'm erring on the side of slightly extra. And now I'm going to modify line swap, clockwise in order, my internal line, hold down the control key, and there we go. So I could leave that if I want to remember that it's there, but I'm going to just delete the line. And I could delete that too if I want to. Okay. So now I have added fullness in my shoulder. That's going to be controlled by this one. Well, that wasn't what I meant to do, but that happens a lot, doesn't it? I'm not flipping around a line. Okay, now I am. So I don't think easing this curved line into that straight line will be a problem. The shoulder is wider than the original, and if you have any doubts, you can just go back to the original because it hasn't been changed yet and look at it. So I still have a nice smooth curve here, and I'm going to lower my armhole because I think the original, here I'm realigning only the piece, I think the original armhole is too high to begin with, and I want to lower my jacket armhole in addition to that. So I'm going to lower it an inch, but you, depending on how low you want the armhole on your jacket, you might want to lower it more, because I'm lowering it a 1/2 inch to get it where I want it to be, and then another 1/2 inch to lower the armhole. But we're also going to be raising this shoulder a 1/2 inch and this one a 1/2 inch to match with the shoulder pad. So I'm going to create a line, copy this line. I'm going to put it back on this piece, and I'm going to switch to value, and I want it to go straight so I'm going to say 0, and I want it to, oh, well, I want it to go down 0.5, and I want the Y to be 0. So I'm going to end up blending this line into this one. And I'll do the same thing here. .5 and 0. So eventually I'll have to close the dart and reblend that. But I can save this piece and bring it down and just use itself to do that with. And I think I'm going to split the line right here at the notch and just rotate it around. So modify line, split right here at that notch. And then I'm going to modify line, rotate. And I'm going to choose this line. I want to choose this corner to rotate around. And I want to move this line, switch to cursor, until it blends in to that line. And I probably should zoom in and make sure I do a really careful job of that. And I'm liking it right there. I like where it's blending right there. And if I clip it and it clips right there, that will be good. So I'll modify line, clip this line till it touches that line. Oh well, that is not what I asked for at all. Undo. Why did it do that? I'm going to manually split it back down to here because it looks like it crosses over the line in a couple of places. And I'll just adjust. Choose the line and just bring this back down to where it crosses over the first time. And now that should be fine. And if I need to later, I can reblend the line a little bit. Create line copy. So there's two ways of doing this. I'm choosing this line and it's going back on this piece. And I'm going to say cancel. So it's under there. And now I want to rotate the line, modify line, rotate, and I'm going to kind of hover around over there. There's a I guess it doesn't really matter which line I get. Okay, so I want to rotate this line up a 1/2 inch because I'm putting in a 1/2 inch shoulder pad. And if you look in the book, it shows you how to do that, but you end up raising the shoulder from 0 at the neck to a 1/2 inch at the shoulder for a 1/2 inch shoulder pad, and then you alter the sleeve eventually too. And if I'm good, maybe I'll take a picture of that and get it in the video somewhere. Okay, I want to select this line to rotate around and a point to guide the movement, and if I rotate that a 1/2 inch, I'm looking so my distance needs to be 0.5. And you can see the line that I had under there, and it's as if I already swapped it, but I can see what I did. And here I'm going to do the same thing with this one. This one, rotate around the neck area, select a point. Oh, but I didn't give myself a line. So if I create line copy and I choose this one, it's going on this piece, it's staying where it is, and now I can rotate the line. So I'm choosing this line to rotate. I'm rotating around this end, and this time I'm going negative. Negative 0.5. Well, that doesn't look very pretty. It's not wrong, but it's not pretty. So, modify, set rotate, choosing the outer end again. Well, how do I want to handle that? If just for reference, I had my original shoulder here and here. So this has moved out a little bit. But I want my armhole to extend out. It's okay if it extends out a little bit more. And in order to close my dart, I'm going to create piece copy, and I'm just going to copy this piece. And I don't want to keep that, so I'm just going to give it something that will be easy to find. My pieces are going into my model. And now I'm going to modify set rotate onto this point and this line, this point and this line. So I have just mentally folded that closed, so I have the one and the other coming together. I have this line in the bottom of the armhole coming around and coming up here and blending into that one that's coming down into that one. I extended my shoulder out on purpose because I find it more slimming if it extends out. But obviously we don't like this line that well. But this line, if I create a 2-point curve that joins, how do I catch her? I have to go into the dots, and I'm going to create a line from R because that's my additional piece, and I want to come up here. I don't want to make this smaller. I'm going to choose the end of that line, and I want to blend it in. I can't pick this one up unless I come back to my dots, and I can't really do that right now, so I'm just going to zoom in and try to come as close to that point as I can right there. And this will probably just be a guideline. Okay, so if I blend that curve, could I be so lucky as to get it in one shot? Well, that looks pretty good, but my goal wasn't to bump that back in so far. So how far is that? I'm going to clear this so that I can touch the other things. And if I measure from here to here, oh, that's not what I wanted. Maybe that is what I want. Verify line length. About 3/8, which is about the same amount that I added. So that won't do. So if I start clear back here, no, not right there. If I start roughly there and I join here, and I pull that line in, I'm looking at the curve on the front and the edge of the shoulder, and I'm going to have to do that again. Okay, I've got a line here that comes around and it's lower and extends out beyond, and I'm okay with that. We could be looking at some fit problems. My instinct is telling me that I want to move the side seams out a little bit further than they are to make that armhole a little bit nicer. But you'd have to know what your measurement specifications needed to be for this jacket and how much bigger you wanted it than the body, and you certainly could make those decisions. And it doesn't need to be like this, so we're studying how to do it, not necessarily how much. So I'm going to keep going on, and the next thing that needs to be done is to create line copy. Where is it? Come on. Wow, what piece is that even attached to? I want the front. Yes, I need to create this line and have it attached to the back, and then I'm going to cancel so that it ends up in the same place. And now both of those pieces have that line. But in case I run into trouble with these two pieces and getting the lines where I need them to be, I'm going to copy this line. Well, I guess it is where it needs to be. Okay. So now if I pick this piece up and move it to the side, there's an exact copy under it. So this piece, assuming I've got what I want, I can use this one and create piece trace. Oh, control key. Trace clockwise, coming around the outer edge, lower line. Oh, I need to get in there and see that. But I can't. And that line doesn't go far enough. There it is. And it's blending into that one. Let's hope I got that. And I extended this out wider, and you can always do with a bit more room. Oh dear, not closed. So I'm guessing that that happened right through here, and I need another little line right there. So I'm going to create a 2-point curve that joins this line with this one right there. Okay. Create piece trace, control key, shoulder, neck, back, hem, side seam, underarm, little line, other line, and the internal lines. I let go of the control key and I didn't put all those lines on there. But it's roughly what I want. I just need to copy the dart lines. Do I want to save that or do I want to do it again? I think I want to do it again. So control key, control key again. And I think I want these hem lines too. Okay, so there's my back. And I'm going to put adjusted. Okay. So if I were to compare this to my original back, it is bigger. It's got room for a shoulder pad. My armhole is lower. And I definitely have more space across the back. I don't know if I like that. My armhole opening is bigger. And if I put that down right there, that comparison, I might want to actually line those up on top of each other and copy this line onto that and have it stay there because I like the shape better. Right now it matches the sleeve better, but I would be probably changing the sleeve at some point anyway. So when it's in its correct position, it's a nice shape, but you want to think through the armhole and the way it fits, and switching those two could be a possibility, but you don't need to do that for the homework assignment. We are just learning, and you can apply things to your final projects instead, and a better choice might just be the simpler blend that a little nicer, and then when you're finishing your sleeves, put your notches where you want them to be. So this one can be our back, and I'm going to right click and piece to menu. I probably should also save it. Is it this one? Yeah. So I'm going to save it just in case I do something. Okay, so these two I'm not using right now. I'll come back to my sleeve and I want to look at those together for a minute before I decide what to do with it. Okay, so I like the curve I have right here that's joining that piece. But that line is attached to my extra piece right now. So I need to create that line and copy it. And I want to copy this line onto my original front. So I want it to go on that piece, and I'll cancel, and now it will just be there. And it looks like that new line blends in with this old line very nicely, so I can just leave that the way that it is. So I can move, this is my extra piece. So if I move this one, that's my R that I don't really need. It was just there to help me make some decisions. And that's going to be a little trickier. So in order for this one to work, I'm going to create line copy and put it back on the line and cancel it, and then modify, adjust that line so that that dart line crosses over right there. So you can tell I have my favorite things that I like to do. You certainly could do that in other ways. So I'm going to realign that piece and put it back. And right here, does that line cross over there? I'm not sure. So I'm going to touch it and pull it out just in case, because I don't want it to... But if I trace this off and it doesn't go all the way up to this line, then that's going to be a mess. So I better... I'm just going to make a straight line that goes from here to the end of that dart, just because I want to know that that's going to close. So tracing off again, create piece trace, control, that little straight line, release and press it down again, and I want my bust point and my dart and my hem. And when we moved this over, the dart moved, so we're probably going to end up changing that where that is. Okay, so, and I'm going to put adjusted on that one too. And piece to menu. the one. That is the one. And I'm going to save it. Okay. So do I want to save any of these map sort of pieces? Just in case I hate what I did and I want to come part way back. So I'm going to save these as a map. I don't want to save them. I want to save as. So I'm going to do File, Save As. Maybe map for now. Yes to all. And that one. So are all of the, no, it's this one I wanted to save, isn't it? Oh, but I did. Okay. I actually logged out and back in, and I double checked to make sure I had all of the pieces I wanted in my model. And we're back, and I've got my adjusted back on the screen. I want to change the armhole. I've got my adjusted front ×2 and my sleeve, and I'm going to want to focus on the sleeve, but before I do that, I want to double check the curve on the armhole. So I'm going to modify Set Rotate, and I want it to start with this corner, the inside of that dart, and then the outside of that same dart, and put them together, cancel. And I do have a little bit of fixing. I want to reblend that curve, so I'm going to pick this up at that point. I kind of want to pick it up at that intermediate point instead. And blend it from about there. That looks pretty good. It's not close enough to the line. So I want to copy that line onto the purple piece. So that I can extend that out. And I may treat that a little bit differently rather than swapping. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. I'm going to copy this line onto this piece and cancel so that it's in exactly the same place. And then I'm going to move this out of the way, and it's in the position I want it to be here. So I just want to move this point straight out. And I want to swap the line. So I may have some fixing to do on this dart, but I'm going to go ahead and start at this end and come out to that end. There we go. Nope. Modify line rotate. Select the line. Select the end we're rotating around. Zoom back in. And I'm going to line it up right on top of that one because that's where I want it. So I need to extend that out again. So adjust. Pull that out the rest of the way. And I'm going to modify split my dart temporarily just to make it easier for swapping. And I'm going to create a new 2-point curve. And you probably know how to do this as well by now, so you can skip this. Just get it so that it's shaped nicely, and then we're going to move on and adjust the sleeve to match the body, and I will save this after I swap the line. Control, I want this one and this one. Did I split that line? I don't think I did. And look at that, it worked. So I'm going to delete it. I don't need this one on the screen. In fact, I'm going to delete that one because I don't want to save that version. And I want to realign this piece and zoom in on it. And just delete that line and move my grain. So delete line. Modify line move. About the only thing you can do to a grain line. And then this isn't a dart, so I'm going to fix that. Modify line combine. There's another line there. And I'm going to delete the one underneath it. And you'll get used to being able to see that. I also want to combine everything else that isn't on a corner. Looks like that piece is okay. And my back. I'm still not sure about doing that, so I'm going to make sure that this one gets saved. And now we can move on to our sleeve, but I'm thinking we'll put that in a new video. So get to that point and then we'll adjust the sleeve so that it has space for a shoulder pad and it's 3/8 of an inch wider on each side, and we'll consider making the opening larger, and we'll put a cuff not a button placket extension. But if we do that, then we'll have to make a 2-piece sleeve. So I'll see you on the next video.